It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
Hello and welcome. He is Gary McNamara. I'm Eric Harley. As we slide into a Monday, thought we'd do some sliding. Gary, how are you?
I'm feeling very blessed that we're here again for another week.
Yeah.
Very, very blessed. And we all learned lessons over the weekend, and you can tell everybody the lesson that you learned over the weekend.
What I learned is that ground bees, these are bees that live in the ground, not the kind that the left wants you to eat. You know, oh, these are ground bees. You know, we just grind them into a pulp and you eat the insects. Remember that whole thing for 10 minutes where the left wanted you to eat insects? Don't do that. Here's number one. Don't do it. Number two, don't do that. But I learned very quickly on Friday that ground bees, number one, exist, and number two, don't like it when you take a lawnmower and run over their home, which is their hive in the ground, which you can't see. Now, I did not do a formal survey of these ground bees, and maybe Mark Mitchell can help us out with that, but guessing by the consensus or the attack on my right leg, which was extremely painful, ooh, I'm guessing they did not like that.
How many you get? How many stings?
6.
Oh.
I thought it was just 2. And then I discovered, because the pain was just, it was so intense, it was hard to know. It was just everything, basically, from the knee down, all of them were in the same zone, from the knee down on my right leg. And then I'm thinking, well, what do they got against my left leg? And then I start looking at my left leg like, hey, you could have gone for the left leg. There's nothing wrong with my left leg. So, yeah, I finished mowing the lawn, went and got some spray, sprayed where I thought they had come from. You know, the area where I thought they had come from. I wasn't going to approach it again. And then I decided, okay, all right, we'll wait it out. I was done. I was almost done with the lawn. I only had about 15 minutes left. So I finished that up, put the lawnmower away, got some spray out, and I sprayed over in that general area. And then on Saturday, I don't know what led me to it, but I walked over to that area, and it's in my front yard, and I found it. It was a perfect hole, and it's like the entrance to a classic beehive that you would see, you know, on Winnie the Pooh or whatever. And it's a perfectly round hole in the ground. There was no grass around it, or it's like they had taken their own little weed trimmer and just carved it out and kept it clean and neat. It was a perfect hole in the ground. So I got some highly toxic substance from the old Home Depot and shoved it into their abode repeatedly. And then I got some great stuff, you know, that expanding foam, and I put that in. And I thought, well, if they're still alive, they won't be getting out.
Well, I don't know. I'm not too comfortable sitting next to a genocidal bee maniac.
Yeah, I went to work too, because I thought, well, if there's these, then there's got to be other insects in my lawn. I don't mind insects. In fact, I don't mind the bees. We have a vegetable garden. If it weren't for the bees, you know, then that wouldn't happen. You got to have the bees to pollinate. So I didn't like killing the bees, and I'm hoping they weren't the ones responsible for pollinating, because, you know, you can't pay them enough to do that kind of job. And we had a great, great season on our vegetable garden. Unbelievable. Hundreds of tomatoes. And I'm hoping that I didn't take out, you know, a hive that was well, they're all important, but I had to do it, because otherwise you can't, you can't mow your lawn.
House. Yeah.
You know, I mean, my thought is find somebody else's yard or something else. But I did go to work on some wasps. I found 2 wasps' nests and got those while I was at it.
Well, I have like, an all-season wreath on my door.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's a couple of weeks ago. I'm leaving to go to work and taking the old vehicle, so that's in the driveway. So I go out the front door and I went, oh, must be a moth. That's what I'm thinking. Mm-hmm. Must be a moth. And I think, there must be a moth that's sticking to the wreath. It was a wasp's nest.
Yeah.
It's like, and I'm amazed because I would open and close that door and probably the wasp was there for a couple of days and not one got in the house.
Well, what's weird is that you say that. So I finished, doing the job on the bees, and then I found, again, a nearby wasp nest. And then I go up to the front porch because I'm going to take the stuff that I got back to my shed in the backyard. And I don't know what made me, there was a wasp flying over my head, and I'm thinking, well, wait a minute. All right, did I just take his home out over the other side of the house? And I look up, and he's got a cool little nest in this little hidden part of my porch. It's right above. If you go to my door and then turn around and look up, it's you've got to be tall enough to see it. And they had it right there, and so I had to go to town on that. So it's like, normally we see these. I took out, I think, one other wasp nest earlier this season and haven't seen any others. I'm always looking probably every few days. I walk the house and look for them. The bee thing hurt. It was like bam, 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 and I was like, whoa, because I must have made one pass over it, and I got hit once, and I thought that was a wasp. I thought, I didn't even see it, and I'm thinking, man, and it just keeps hurting. And then I come back around and go over it, a minute later, and then it's just I'm bombarded. I feel it just several times. It's like boom, 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 boom. And in two of the places, the stingers, I couldn't get the stingers out. So they stayed in there, and they were pulsing for about every 30 minutes for about almost 24 hours. Those stingers just were going to town. I put vinegar on them. I put everything you can put on them. But, yeah, pretty painful.
What's interesting is I've, since I moved on to Texas, always been fascinated with the killer bees. And obviously they weren't killer bees. Otherwise, you'd have a heck of a lot more stings. And so I just looked at the, for example, here where we live here, 8.5 million people.
Yeah.
And we do have occasionally, I know within probably the last 5 years have been a couple of attacks where horses have been killed. Right. One just about 7 miles from me. So I'm always, whenever I'm cutting the lawn, I always make sure that I have a quick exit in one of my doors. Where if I get stung, it's like lawnmower off into the house because you don't know. Once that one sting comes, then it passes the bees message each other and boom.
Yeah.
And there've been let me see, two. Well, just roughly two. One was not a killer bee attack. This is down in Central Texas. And then one in Comanche County that killed 3 horses. I believe that was killer bees. The other one was a tree cutter, and this guy was swarmed with bees. They weren't killer bees, though.
Well, I knew the first time
they weren't Africanized bees.
Right. I knew the first time I got hit the other day. This is not a wasp. Well, at first I thought it was. I thought, wow, that hurts. And then it started pulsing, and I'm like, no, I think that's a bee. But I hadn't seen any. I knew bees were around because they'd been pollinating our garden. My wife said she had seen some back there in the vegetable garden, and we don't bother them. Several years ago, my son's wedding, outdoor wedding, and we rented this place, and it's actually a tree farm, but they rent it out. They have areas of this tree farm, beautiful area, that you can rent out because it's just beautiful for an outdoor wedding. So we go, we have the ceremony, which was under this big, beautiful old tree, the whole thing. Then we go back to the place on the same grounds that has a cover and everything else, and we have everybody there for the reception. We start getting close to the point of almost getting to the point of cutting the cake. Bees start swarming everywhere. And guess what we're serving? We hired a restaurant to serve breakfast, including syrup with waffles and pancakes, cereal for the kids, and not the wholesome cereal, the kind that has a lot of sugar. And then, of course, mimosas. It was Syrup City. And they were all like, the bees came in and were like, oh, yeah, jackpot. So I made the announcement. I said, don't swat any of the bees. Don't try and kill any of the bees. It'll be fine. And we actually finished the entire thing. I was there until sunset, tearing down and everything else. And the next morning, the owners were so apologetic and refunded every single dime to us, and couldn't be more apologetic because exactly what you mentioned. Tree cutters had taken down some of the trees on their tree farm, like the day before or that morning. I forget what it was. And those bees were disturbed from that. And they were basically swarming the property, looking for a new home or whatever they do. And we had syrup and lots of it. And it was a very interesting experience. There's pictures of the cake cutting. There's bees everywhere. You couldn't. They're all over. They're everywhere. They're on the cake.
The closest I've ever come to that was playing basketball in an outdoor court.
Yeah.
In Cedar Hill, Texas. And I'm just out there shooting baskets. It's on a weekday, so nobody's really out there. I'm just shooting baskets, working out, running back and forth. And all of a sudden I see a little bit of, it's a beautiful sunny day. I see like this shade. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
And I hear something.
Yeah.
Sounds like a little electric motor.
Right.
I look up. I have never the closest I've ever seen, and anybody that lives, for example, on the Canadian border probably has seen this, sandflies.
Okay.
When sandflies, I've seen it one time with sandflies, had to be billions of them flying over and actually darkening the sky.
Right.
But this was, I looked up, all bees. I mean, millions of bees must have been following the queen to the next hive.
Right.
And it was, it was the most intimidating thing. I mean, it's like, well, I look up, I'm like, oh God, don't move.
I was in an old part of downtown Dallas, and I remember pulling out of this building. It was a clinic. I went to see a specialist or something, and I was pulling out. Same thing. I look to my left. I'm about to pull out of this parking lot, and there's this cloud, and it's bees. And I have my window barely cracked because I left it cracked when I went inside that building, and I hadn't rolled it up yet. I'm just pulling out, and you could hear them, and you could see it. Just this big dark cloud of bees, and it goes right past me. It was just, they were just traveling along the road.
Oh yeah,
going wherever they were going.
Yeah, they weren't paying attention to me. I do wonder though, because there's been so much hype on killer bees, and that's why I looked and said, I wonder if there's many attacks in right in the DFW metro, which there hasn't been.
Yeah,
and I've always thought, I said, they hype them so much, and I'm not saying that they don't swarm and attack. We know that they do. But do they, over a period of time in an urban setting, get used to, does the normal eugenics, I mean genetic, I mean evolution of, I'm sorry, I was thinking of last week's shows. Mm-hmm. But you just wonder, do they, after trial and error, do they become used to it? I remember that there was an alleyway in downtown Dallas. This goes back maybe 12, 13, 14 years ago. And these bees all in the back, and they finally said, okay, we got to do something about it. It was a killer bee hive that was there for months. They were around, but they never attacked anybody. And they said they couldn't believe it because of the noise and everything else.
Yeah.
And I just wonder, when you have 8.5 million people, for example, in this metro area, and people do everything. They hike, they golf, they do everything where there are killer bee hives.
Mm-hmm.
And you would assume that if they were as bad as hyped, you would see thousands of people being attacked a year.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And you just don't. And I'm not making a statement by asking the question, but but it's just, I find it interesting.
Yeah. I was allergic to bees when I was young, and I've apparently grown out of it. Now, I did take a Benadryl when I went in the house. When I went in to, get cleaned up, I took a Benadryl just in case, but I didn't feel any other effect other than the pain and the two stingers that stayed in gave me the most grief.
Oh, you should have. I was a kid with my father at my aunt's house. This is up in New York, and there's all these dead trees, and I got a big branch, and I'm just hitting all these trees as I'm walking along. Hit a hornet's nest.
Oh yeah, yeah, that'll do it.
And they came after me.
Yeah.
They didn't. My father and my uncle were there. Everybody's running. They didn't get one sting. They knew exactly to come after me, and I got 25 to 30 stings on my face.
Yeah.
And I never forget that. So
Yeah.
I've always been pretty wary of bees. But I did find out one thing. I'm not allergic.
Yeah. Well, I don't think I'm allergic anymore. I would think that I'd feel something even with the Benadryl that I took. I would feel something if I were allergic. But, it was, I don't like killing the bees because we need the bees around in our garden. We actually bought some things to attract bees and put them out in the garden. But I didn't even know about ground bees.
Well, I'm very glad that you did that. You put out all the bait to get the bees near your house so they stay away from mine.
And then I killed them. Yeah.
We've got a great show today. Well, it was tough for Democrats when it came to redistricting this weekend.
Yeah.
Wow, just hilarious.
Insane.
Man, we got so much to talk about. What a great week ahead. 866-90-RED-EYE.
This report is brought to you by Shell Rotella. With advanced synthetic technology, is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance. Keep your engine humming in the heat this summer by keeping up with preventive maintenance. Think your PM is complete after your oil is changed? Think again. There's grease, transmission fluids, and gear oil to consider too. Transmission fluid, for example, prevents wear of gears, bearings, and bushings, protects against corrosion, and acts as a heat transfer fluid. You may not think about this every time you get behind the wheel, but as soon as it's not doing its job, you'll notice. Misapplication of transmission fluid can mean reduced fuel economy and abrupt or hard shifts if the static friction is too high. It can also cause sluggish operation at low temperatures if the viscosity is too high and leaking through seals if viscosity is too low.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90-RED-EYE on Red Eye Radio.
We are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Coming up following the the bottom of the hour. Democrats on the Sunday morning news shows today redistricting big. I love Pritzker was asked the question about Mandami, saying, you're one of the leaders of the party, and Mandami is saying their billionaires shouldn't exist. What do you think? I just love it. And Kathy Hochul being hit on redistricting, Pritzker being hit on redistricting. None of them can answer the question, and they're being asked it by liberals.
Yeah.
And they're being challenged, saying, well, and Pritzker, your state has an F. It doesn't matter what organization, left or right, looked at Illinois, was the argument. You get an F when it comes to redistricting. Yep. There is no state worse than Illinois. It's just great stuff over the weekend.
Well, they keep screaming, this is a threat to democracy. This is a threat to democracy. This is a threat to democracy. And then say, as a result of Texas doing it, we're going to do more. Well, is it a threat to democracy or not?
Catch all 5 hours of the show live every night on the Red Eye Radio app. Available in the App Store. Red Eye Radio.
And he is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Download our Red Eye Radio app today, and you can listen when and where you choose. That's right. If you fall asleep to us, we know some people do.
We call those people our production staff.
And mostly that would be viewed as an insult, but, you know, you can't stay up all night at times. But if you miss parts of the show, and we get this all the time, and people say, yeah, I listen to part of the show live and part of it on the podcast, because we know most people don't stay up all night like we do.
Well, we wanted to be overly accommodating. We wanted to make sure, listen, it's not about you, it's about us.
Yes.
So you don't have any excuse for not listening to our show.
Right.
I can't stay awake all night. Okay, fine. We'll do a podcast. Keep in mind, this is not about you.
Yes, exactly. All right, you ready?
All right.
All right, here we go. I mean, it's just, I've often said, tell me one thing right now that Democrats can make an argument for. One thing.
We're crazier than you are. They win that whole day.
All right.
I give that one to
Tell
them.
me one thing.
That's not even a participation trophy.
Tell me one thing not based on insanity that they can win an argument on.
Tell me one thing not based on insanity that's related to the Democrats. It's just totally beyond insane now.
All right, here's Governor Hochul of New York on Fox News. Okay,
all right,
on the whole redistricting thing.
Okay,
here we go.
Here's how National Review summarized it. They said it was only 3 years ago that New York's Democratic legislature drew up a map so brazenly contemptuous of basic rules that govern a district's contiguousness that the state's Democrat-dominated Court of Appeals threw it out. The New York Times at the time called those maps comically contorted. That's their quote. So your state's highest court at the time, all the judges appointed by Democratic governors, they threw the maps out. So fair to say Democrats have done what they're now accusing Republicans of doing.
No, we followed the rules. We do it every 10 years. We base it on census.
But the court said you didn't follow the rules.
Well, we did follow the rules.
So the court was wrong?
Well, we followed the rules.
We followed the rules, no take-backs. We followed the rules.
We called follow the rules first.
Follow the rules.
We followed the rules.
We followed the rules.
But you didn't follow the rules.
Well,
we didn't follow the rules. Well, they said you didn't follow the rules, but we did. We did.
We did.
Oh, my gosh. And
you know how I know we follow the rules? Because we follow the rules. Seriously. Children, man. It really is children. Standing on a heaping pile of dirty laundry. I did my laundry, Dad. Yeah, okay.
All right, now, let's go to, and this is what I think blew everybody's mind. Mm-hmm. Kristen Welker from Meet the Press.
All
right, and she's got Pritzger on.
All right.
Here we go. All right, Governor Pritzger from Illinois. Sort of the same thing here. Here we go.
Every major group that grades the fairness of congressional maps gives your state an F. Common Cause, a nonpartisan government watchdog, even says your map, and I'm going to quote, represents a nearly perfect model for everything that can go wrong with redistricting. And I guess the question is, you talk about preserving democracy. How do you preserve democracy if you're using the same tactics that you've criticized Texas Republicans for?
But as I say, what they're talking about is a distraction. The reality is that the violation of people's voting rights.
Wait. What's a distraction?
Yeah, what?
You're not responding to what is you're talking to Kristen Welker and every single group, including the Democrat groups? I mean, who are you responding to? Let's continue here.
All right.
Is what Texas is attempting to do. That's what's wrong with their efforts right now. And the fact that the president of the United States knows it, and nevertheless.
Okay, we can stop it because he never answers the question.
Right.
You notice none of them can answer the question at all. And it's very important because we talk about media interviews, and it's very important to tear down these things and say, do they have an argument? And they don't have an argument.
They do not. They do not.
And now let's go to Eric Holder, who was on Meet the Press. Remember when he was testifying before Congress? Was it Lindsey Graham? Was it Lindsey Graham who asked him, can you call, I think it was ISIS, terrorists? And he couldn't do it?
Yeah. What was
it ISIS or what was it? I just remember him testifying, and it was unbelievable because he could not do it. And here's a guy, this is another Democrat who believes they have this incredibly high intelligence, and they don't.
No, they do not.
But here they are. Here we come in. And gerrymandering is a threat to democracy. We have to gerrymander to save democracy.
Yeah.
And gerrymander as the beaver. All right, here we go. You ready?
Gee, Wally, I'm ready.
Here we go.
Let me ask you, how can gerrymandering both be a threat to democracy and also the way to save it?
Well, there's no question that gerrymandering is a threat to our democracy. It allows politicians to pick their voters as opposed to citizens choosing their representatives. But we are now in a situation where we find ourselves where authoritarian moves are being made by the White House through various states, Texas most prominent among them, and there has to be a response to that. What I've said is that we have to protect our democracy now if we ultimately want to be able to save it. And
they can't make an argument. It's great.
They really can't.
Oh, my God.
They can't.
Unbelievable.
This is a threat to democracy. Illinois. No, Texas is the only threat to democracy. Why Texas? Because we said.
Because Trump knows about it. And if Trump knows about it, then it's a threat to democracy. But it's not nearly as bad as what you guys have done with your states. Yes, but we're doing it now to protect ourselves, to protect the democracy from what they're doing because we didn't want to protect democracy, and now we're protecting democracy by not protecting democracy.
And bobblehead, Newsom. Well, Texas is a threat to democracy, so I guess we're going to be a threat to democracy, too. We'll go and redistrict Massachusetts. They're like, you know what? Wait a minute. You can't do anything, Massachusetts. You have no Republicans. Yeah, so there. I mean, it's dealing with, honestly, like it is dealing with children. And not the smart kids. You know, the kids that like live down the street and you don't like your kids playing with them because they're not that smart? Those kids.
And then they get into, this is great, and then they get into Kristen Welker with Pritzker about Mandami. And she's saying, look, you're one of the leaders of your party. What do you think about Mandami and the existence of billionaires, that they shouldn't exist? Because he's a billionaire. People don't know that.
Right.
Here we go.
All right. Well, I want to talk about the future now of your party. You're one of the leaders of the Democratic Party. You are also a billionaire. Some in your party are openly questioning whether billionaires such as yourself should exist at all, Governor. Just listen to what Zohran Mamdani, New York City's Democratic nominee for mayor, told me recently. Take a look. Do you think that billionaires have a right to exist?
I don't think that we should have billionaires because, frankly, it is so much money in a moment of such inequality.
Governor, is that the kind of message that Democrats should be embracing?
Look, how much money you have doesn't determine what your values are. And I'm a Democrat because I believe that everyone deserves health care. I'm a Democrat because I believe we've got to fund education and have a free public.
Okay, but he didn't answer the question.
He didn't answer the question. He just walks away from it.
Should billionaires exist? And that's they can't answer any questions. No. And then this one, though, because I thought about this yesterday when Trump said there's going to be an announcement. And I said, I wouldn't be surprised if he got Bowser to agree with him, the mayor.
Yeah.
And say, okay, this is a cooperative thing.
Yeah.
And so I see this over the weekend on MSNBC. All right. And she's being interviewed. All right. And so here we go. And listen to the Listen to how they phrase it, okay?
Okay. All right.
Their very liberal argument, of course, this is all about, white supremacy and everything else.
Right.
Here we go.
Yeah.
One of the things that we have seen over and over from the president, from his team, Stephen Miller saying it's like Baghdad in Ethiopia. They seem to hold their harshest criticism sometimes for cities that are majority black and brown. Do you see that, and what do you think that means?
I think that I have been dealing kind of with this issue for a number of years. It's kind of easy fodder on the campaign trail. But now we're talking about governing, and my job is to focus on making sure our city is running well, and people enjoy a great quality of life. And I think we're doing a really good job. We do need the federal government's help, as I mentioned, because they have an outsized influence on our criminal justice system. We need more prosecutors. We need more judges. There are other ways to help. Even we want to rebuild our jail, and there are ways that the feds can help with that. But also just doing their part, cutting the grass, fixing the fountains, making sure that federal law enforcement is doing all of the policing that they can do. And
I don't think that's the answer that they want.
I don't think so either.
The federal law enforcement is doing all the law enforcement they can in Washington. They're talking about local law enforcement.
I know.
And this is where I saw Politico had the story that Trump's going to have FBI out there at night in high areas that need to be patrolled. That's one of the things they're going to be talking about. But it's like, and I guess my point is just a cross-section of some of the interviews over the weekend on the Sunday morning news shows where Democrats can't make an argument for anything.
Well, they're like,
and I'm not talking about the mayor of Washington, because she actually made an argument that's saying, no, we want the help and we want crime to go down even more.
Right.
But it's the fact that the radicals on MSNBC couldn't make their racist kind of point, that this is all done on racism.
It's like they're this little group of ground bees, and somebody runs over them with a loud lawnmower, and they just go to town in every direction, with their stingers out, and they have nowhere to go. They honestly have nowhere to go. The Democrats don't have a win here. They don't. The redistricting thing's been going on, and you know what I thought of over the weekend, because there was just so much, and it's, keep in mind, once again, this is all about our own entertainment. Don't make this about you, audience. This is about our own entertainment as we're watching all of these Sunday morning news interviews and reading all these stories with these silly comments from the left. But I'm thinking to myself, in one moment I thought, okay, say redistricting to the average person. It's really a yawner. And why is that? Well, because if that average person happens to be older, like one of us, redistricting has been going on for a long, long time. It's just part of the process. You may like it or dislike it or whatever, but it really doesn't faze you. It's not a huge needle mover, which is why the left had to go bat soup crazy over it this time, because it can be a needle mover for the Republican Party if you're going to gain 5 seats. That's a big, that's a big deal if it were to happen that way. But if you're the left, it's not, you can't move the needle back into your direction, back into your corner, because the truth works against you, because your party has been doing the packing and cracking, as they call it, for ages. This is exactly what they have, they're great at. It's why in Massachusetts they don't have any Republicans. It's why Illinois is the way it is. And if Gavin gets his way, why California will be even bluer. They're the ones who have mastered this. We'll see what the Supreme Court does. But I think the average person looks at it and just says, well, it's not a huge needle mover. It just isn't.
Well, average American over the weekend, at least, for example, here in Texas, we're saying for the majority, school starts Monday.
Yeah, exactly.
It's amazing coming in this tonight.
I know.
It's like, Where's the traffic?
Quiet. Everybody's asleep. Everybody's in bed.
I forgot. That's
man.
right. The majority.
I live in a school district. My street's going to be crowded here in a few hours.
It was great coming in. There was no traffic. 866-90 Red Eye.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90 Red Eye.
We are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Thanks so much for being here this morning. It will be interesting to see whether the Democrats staying out of Texas will last another week.
Yeah.
Last through this week. We'll get to that and a whole bunch more on the way.
Top of the hour news is brought to you by House Products. Visit houseproducts.com.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
All right, well, one of the questions that you and I asked on Thursday night, Friday morning show was, what will it be like when we come in right now?
Mm-hmm.
And it was in relation to Israel's plan to basically wipe out Hamas, take over Gaza, and then give it, have it run by, I guess it would be Western supporting Arabs.
Yeah, right, yeah.
And I had said back then, I'm amazed. Following this as I have for over a half a century, what's going on in the Middle East, I was amazed Thursday night, Friday morning saying, where's the criticism?
Mm-hmm.
Where's this massive worldwide criticism? Where are the Democrats standing up and screaming at all of this? And here we are. We get to Monday, nothing. Really nothing.
There was nothing on that.
Nothing. It blows me away. The silence is deafening. And I mean in a good way.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, you can't make an argument. It's really interesting because, we'll have Democrats out there that'll be just absolutely bluntly pro-Hamas.
Mm-hmm.
Like, where are they now on this? Did everything change because of the success that Trump had? And I'm still blown away, and I know maybe we're the only ones, but it's mind-boggling that Trump went after the nuclear program of Iran, and a week after, the criticism stopped completely. There was all the second guessing, remember, early on?
Right.
Well,
yeah. Well, it only set them back 3 hours.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm.
It set them back 47 minutes.
Right, exactly.
And there was, but by the time we got to a week later, nothing. And that criticism was mostly internal here in the United States from Democrats.
Yeah.
Well, he might not have really got the entire job done. Oh, so what you're promoting is he needs to make sure that he completely destroys their nuclear program. Well, we're pretty confident that if the nuclear program is still going, that Trump will do it. So are you agreeing with them? But worldwide, nothing.
Yeah.
And with Netanyahu, I was saying this, absolutely nothing over the weekend.
Yeah, nothing.
I mean, Netanyahu doing a press conference and saying, look, our goal is not to occupy Gaza. Our goal is to eliminate Hamas completely and then give it, give control to Arabs that believe in freedom.
Yeah.
And liberty for the people of Gaza. That's what he...
Yeah,
and,
right.
And you would think that there would be And there still may be a UN proclamation, but no, against what Netanyahu is doing. But even if you do, there is no adrenaline to any of the opposition right now against what Israel has planned. It may exist out there. You don't hear it.
Yeah.
And normally, when it comes to Israel, that's one of the most vocal things you'll see from the media, from foreign governments, from the UN. I did see Australia came in to see the Australian Prime Minister. Oh, we're going to, and that's the only pushback you've seen is, well, we're putting our opinion in that we're for a Palestinian state.
Yeah.
Well, I guess so is. This is great. So is Netanyahu.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's a great point. How do you counter what Netanyahu's doing logistically? Because he did end it with, he would hand it over to Arab-led forces at some point once Hamas has been dealt with.
Right.
Now, he didn't put a clock on it, but you don't need to. We said that means he owns it once they go into Gaza. Once they go into Gaza, this is it. You own it.
You mean
it's all you.
The humanitarian portion?
All of it, everything that that's coming out. And this is the thing. Israel's going to get the heat one way or the other, whether they defend themselves or not.
Yeah.
There is no other option. So then you look at, okay, politically, with the left here in the States, you're heading into, we're back to school. Next thing you know, we're going to start hearing, more and more about the midterm. You start seeing things like this. Is the Democratic Party, the party itself, saying we can't go into 26 with so much anti-Semitism on display? Now, we all know that the left is filled with anti-Semitism. Because I wondered yesterday, I'm thinking, same thing you're thinking, where in the world is the noise from the left on this?
I know.
And I'm thinking, all right, we're getting into, with the next month, fall begins. And then next thing you know, we're a year out from the midterms. You got to start putting your ads together, the primaries, all of this. Does the party, and I'm just asking an open-ended question, is the party trying to make a concerted effort? Look, we can't go to town on this. We've got to be a lot quieter in our anti-Semitism. We can't put that on full display because that will ruin 26 for us.
Well, I would agree with you if.
Well, I'm just asking the question. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I'm not. Again, I would agree with the premise. Not I'm going to say with you.
Yeah.
You're throwing out basically
right.
We do hypotheticals.
It would be hard for me to believe, but
I would say yes, except for the fact that they played up the humanitarian role big time until the New York Times got burned on that picture of the starving child.
Yeah, sure.
Until they got burned on that picture, they were all back to their anti-Semitism. I think they're just looking at this saying, how do we get a win on this? I do think that there's there's an acknowledgement from Democrats, we're not winning anything. We can't win an argument on a damn thing. And the people that are out there are AOC, Jasmine Crockett. I've got more. I'm telling you, it's just, and it's my fault for mentioning Jasmine Crockett as much as I do. Because she's my congressperson. I get so much email on Jasmine Crockett. I got one saying, who was it? Somebody posted somewhere that, in part of her, part of her district, you've got crime, you've got this, and somebody asked me, is that true? And I think they're applying it to me.
Yeah, it was Benny Johnson that posted it.
Oh, okay. And so somebody asked me, is that true? Yeah, there are some. Remember, her district is a gerrymandered district, which is why she won by 85% of the vote, and it covers southern Dallas, but then goes into the southern suburbs, which where I live is a great place. Yeah, great place to live. But like any urban environment probably in the United States right now, the vast majority under Democrat control, and I can't say southern Dallas right now because the mayor.
Well, yeah, he switched to the Republican
Party. He became
Party.
a Republican, yeah, like any urban, they have their problems. So you can pick up portions of Dallas, and I'm sure her district, and say, look at this area here, look how horrible it is, look at there's no development, there's nothing in there. But if you want to sit there and say that's her fault, she hasn't been in long enough to do anything, and the vast majority of these areas really are under state, but mostly county and city authority is what's going to change that. It's not going to be the federal level, whether it's her or not. I'm not defending her, by the way, right? Because I think under her management, it might be worse than it is right now in some of the areas that she may govern.
I've seen many areas of many metro areas, actually even small town areas, that look similar. Maybe not the homeless problem in the small towns, but you see these abandoned buildings, you see garbage that hasn't been picked up in a long, long time. I mean, the homeless problem just less than a mile from our studios, which goes all along I-35 and 635, and that intersection right there is nonstop. I mean, you'll go to a drive-through at a normal whatever fast food, nationwide fast food location, and at times, depending on what day of the week, what time of the day, and you'll see homeless people sleeping on the lawn of the fast food place. I actually drove by one. I was like, man, the employees can't feel safe with that. And so in major metro areas, there's a lot of problems. And it's, as you pointed out, you're talking about the city and the county, and in some cases the states not doing their jobs. But in this case, I'd point to the city, depending on where you're talking about. But the city of Dallas has had problems for a long time. I live in a neighboring city. I don't live in the city of Dallas, but the line between the city of Dallas and the city I live in, remarkably different. You can tell when you cross into my city.
Yeah, and we have a very, very on top of it police force where I where I live in the suburb that I live. But understanding her district goes from urban areas, deep urban areas, all the way to the suburban areas, and don't sit there and somebody say, oh, so what you're saying is from the black areas to the white areas. No. My neighborhood is completely a majority minority precinct where I live.
Right.
And so you can't make that's not the case, as we said. It's culture and government.
Yeah.
That creates all of this. So but it's just interesting because you look at over the weekend and the Israel thing, nothing. When I think about this past weekend, what I hear is, Jasmine Crockett, using the whole racist thing, and we'll have the governor Abbott responding. He responded to that one.
Yeah.
Jasmine Crockett, AOC, Bernie Sanders, Beto O'Rourke. We're not going to follow the effing rules.
Yeah.
You see that. You see Pritzker. You see Hochul. You see those 5 people that 5-6 people that can't answer any questions and are as radical as you can possibly get.
Yep.
And that's the face of the Democratic Party right now.
Yep.
And even we played the MSNBC interview with the mayor of D.C., where they're trying to get her to They're always basically this is white supremacy, Trump picking on Washington because it's a majority black, and she wasn't having anything of that at all. Mm-hmm. She was saying, no, we need to make sure that it's a safe place, and the federal government has their role, including federal law enforcement. Like, wow.
Yep.
And so they just can't make inroads on anything. And meanwhile, I'm watching this going, they cannot get out of the marketing of the most radical people in the Democratic Party. And then the whole Mandami thing, too. I can't forget about Mandami.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And then the billionaires with the argument back and forth, and Bernie Sanders out there, and it's just there is no moderate imagery at all of a Democratic Party.
See, and I go back to that this big question in my mind: what do their ad campaigns look like? Obviously, different in different districts and states.
Trump sucks,
but overall, what do you promote that you're going to do for people?
For the 10th straight year.
Yeah, exactly.
Trump is Hitler.
Right.
No, I'm sorry, Satan.
Well, but what promises can your party make? We're going to eliminate billionaires? That's not going to happen, and people aren't worried about that. They're just not. They're worried about what you're going to do for them. What are you going to do for us? That's the question, and they can't put anything out there. It's nothing but hate and criticism of the opposition.
866-90-RED-EYE.
Brought to you by FPPF, Fuel Power Max.
Owner-operators can save a hefty amount of money by participating in discount fuel networks. If you're leased and your fleet has a fuel optimizer program, use it. Such a program helps plan a trip based on fuel prices and locations in the carrier's fuel network. The larger the carrier, typically the larger the discounts that are possible. Fees for using such networks have become rare thanks to competition for drivers. Owner-operators are well advised, however, to pass up network fuel stops that are too costly, are too far off route, sell inferior fuel, or are dangerously or poorly maintained. For independent owner-operators, a bevy of fuel discount networks exists, from a variety of traditional fuel cards to the National Association of Small Trucking Companies network and the younger mudflap applications discounts at independent truck stops around the nation. Research the options and discounts available to find the right one for you. Owner-Operator Business 101 is provided by Overdrive's Partners in Business program. Go to overdriveonline.com to the Partners in Business section of the website for more details on this and many other topics.
Brought to you by Shell Rotella. With advanced synthetic technology is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
We are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. And you did see over the weekend that a judge stopped Beto O'Rourke from financing, his group financing the Democrats that abandoned the state of Texas.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Did I say that with enough?
Who left their constituents behind.
High and dry.
Full abandonment.
Cowards. Got to throw the C word in, right?
Exactly.
Cowards who abandon.
That's only because they are cowards.
The Republic of Texas.
Yeah.
Let's go back a few years.
Yeah. I don't have to go back a few years. Yeah.
Eric and I all weekend in response to the Democrats. Remember the Alamo.
That's right.
We don't know how that applies, but we're in the day and age of politics where it doesn't matter.
And don't forget the bee spray.
Yeah, watch out
your lawn.
Watch out for ground bees.
So remember the Alamo.
Wow.
Don't forget pants and the bee spray.
And don't put a skirt on a cat.
Ever. I'm Eric Harley, and I approve this message.
You know, it's just funny because after we did that story last week, and this weekend, too, for some reason, a bunch of low-flying aircraft all over my neighborhood this weekend. And every time one was flying over, and it was pretty loud, I looked at my cat. It's like, show me the laser beam, Gary. It's like
exactly.
Not even paying attention to any of it.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
That's still one of my favorite stories. We have to remember that the motto of all political stories, don't let your cat wear a skirt.
Yeah. Don't ever put a skirt on your cat.
We've got a ton of different audio coming up here. There is, where is it here? This headline, top left-wing podcaster slams audacity of white Trump voters who eat in Mexican restaurants and visit gay hairdressers. Coming up.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
And we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. All right, let's talk about the pierogi Nazi.
All right.
Jonathan Turley had the column over the weekend. No pierogi for you. Dershowitz denied food in Martha's Vineyard over his political view. Harvard political views. Actually, it's not his political views. It's his legal views.
Yeah, because he's a lifelong Democrat.
Right. He's not a Trump supporter. Harvard professor Alan Dershowitz appeared to be living through the remake of the Seinfeld soup Nazi episode. This is Turley writing this. However, Dershowitz faces a new culinary menace in Martha's Vineyard. Chef Krem Miskovich, who has barred the famed lawyer from buying pierogies because of his political views. Actually, not his political views.
No.
It's his legal views. And liberals are applauding him for it. Welcome to pierogi politics. It's the same distasteful politics that is tearing the country apart, only with an added carb load. Dershowitz has previously described how his liberal neighbors, who were friendly when he was advancing liberal causes, have blacklisted him in the elite community due to his defense of Donald Trump. He is treated as persona non grata and shunned by the wealthy community. Now, look, for most of us, that would be a badge of honor.
Yeah.
The fact that I will never, ever be welcomed into Martha's Vineyard pleases me to no end.
Oh, yeah.
Now the blacklisting has extended to food. Dershowitz would regularly go to the West Tisbury Farmers Market and buy food there. Then Miskovich decided to join the mob and bar him from eating. The chef, who goes by pronouns they and them, also accused Dershowitz of misgendering by referring to him, quote, him, in passing. Dershowitz says he will happily use his preferred pronouns. However, the chef admits it is his political and legal views that led him to blacklist the professor. Dershowitz is now pursuing legal action against the farmers market stand. He stated on his YouTube channel last week, citing he didn't approve of my politics, so he would not serve me. Dershowitz suggested the initial reaction may have been due to his wearing a pro-Jewish T-shirt. Well, maybe it is political. Maybe it is because, okay, maybe it is. All right, because they're that one issue. Israel.
Yeah. All right. If it's based on the T-shirt,
it's fair. But as we know, even before October 7th, the left hated him. This happened before any of this happened on October 7th.
Yeah.
They hate him because he has defended Trump on legal constitutional grounds.
Yeah.
So, the political opinion that he would disagree with the anti-Semitic Democratic Party would, that in itself would make it, that's the political issue.
Yeah, okay.
On most other issues, Dershowitz has always been viewed. I remember when I first became a talk show host, in the 80s, we all knew him as the, liberal legal scholar.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So Dershowitz suggested the initial reaction may have been due to him wearing a pro-Jewish T-shirt. In his initial encounter, he reminded the vendor that Massachusetts law prohibits refusing service based on race, religion, or sexual orientation. You could not say, I don't serve black people. You could not say, I don't serve gay people. You cannot say, I don't serve Jews. This was the encounter that they had. Police were called in the incident and led Dershowitz away. The chef has thrilled the left by venting his hate for Dershowitz and anyone who holds his political or legal view. When he came to our booth, I experienced a surge of emotion. As a chef, I love to share what I cook with the public, regardless of who they are. In this case, what was in the forefront of my mind was the fact that this was a high-profile attorney who represented several sex predators and abusers, including Jeffrey Epstein. Dershowitz is in the right here, and the treatment he received was outrageous. What is chilling is how hate is now celebrated on the left as a perverse type of virtue signaling, which is true.
Yeah.
It is.
Yep. Yeah,
I hate you more.
No, that's basically where the left is. It is a virtue signaling of hatred, and they've been there for a while.
And then there's this story out there, Gateway Pundit had it, as did others. Left-wing podcaster slams audacity of white Trump voters who eat at Mexican restaurants and visit gay hairdressers. A leading left-wing podcaster has slammed the audacity of white Trump voters who enjoy international cuisine. Jennifer Welch, who co-hosts the I've Had It podcast, went on an unhinged rant in which she said white people should be banned from enjoying the benefits of multiculturalism. I've had it with white people that triple Trump. I guess that means voted for him 3 times.
I guess.
That have the nerve and the audacity to walk into a Mexican restaurant, a Chinese restaurant, an Indian restaurant, or perhaps go to their gay hairdresser. I don't think that you should be able to enjoy anything but Cracker Barrel.
Mm-hmm.
She sounds like a rocket scientist here, doesn't she?
Yeah.
If you want a triple Trump and you want a browbeat DEI, browbeat gay people, and you want to browbeat black people, as you've been doing for 400 years, apparently she does not know the history of the Republican versus the Democratic Party.
Yeah, I think she's got the wrong party.
Yeah. And she just goes on, I've effing had it up to here, top to bottom. These people should be boycotted, banned from enjoying the best thing that America has to offer, which is multiculturalism. These are the people that don't even see the racism of identity politics of the Democratic Party.
Yeah, they don't.
They don't see it.
They don't.
They don't even know.
They don't know the history.
They don't even know that it's existing right now.
Yeah.
They don't know the history, number one, of slavery. They don't know the history of Jim Crow.
Yeah.
We've said it before. The most well-financed and organized group against blacks in the history of the United States is not the KKK. It's not the white Aryan nations. No. It is the Democratic Party.
Yep.
That were for the Jim Crow laws, that were for slavery. The Republican Party was the opposite. And so you in order to make your case, you're saying go back 400 years, you've got the Democratic Party that still supports the judging of people by the groups that they're in and not as individuals. And as we all know, they absolutely embrace the hatred of women and the misogyny of the radical transgender movement. It's as clear as day, and they walk around. And this is part of the conversation that we had last week, saying this is why you can't even have a debate with them. They get so much wrong up front.
Yeah, right.
They're not even close to what the truth is. And they scream and yell and scream and yell. And then I love this one. During an interview with former mayor of Chicago, Rahm Emanuel, Jennifer Welch of this podcast freaked out and declared that the MAGA movement was obsessed with people's genitals. Do you know who talks about trans people more than anybody? MAGA. MAGA is the most genital-obsessed political party I have ever seen.
The thing is, she's got no personality. She's all brains. You know?
Yeah, that's it. You put your finger right on it.
So smart.
You know, and the funny thing is, as we know, it's the Democratic Party that obsessed over that. That's how it was created. Republicans wouldn't be here. It was we go back, what was it? 2015, 2016, 2014?
Yeah, somewhere in there.
When the Charlotte Observer came out and said, you know, young girls are going to have to get used to male genitalia in the locker room.
This is where it really, you know, where she misses the argument. The left is obsessed with children's genitals.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
They're fighting to give children the right to mutilate their own genitals. The right isn't fighting for that. In fact, they're fighting to protect children.
I mean, she's so delusional that she's ignoring completely this incredible perversion, this evil perversion that has just encased the Democratic Party as a mainstream issue, as we know from Hochul last week and more, from Governor Hochul of New York and more. And then you have, you know, Rahm Emanuel come out, and he was hemming and hawing, but came out against the radical transgender movement, and he's been blasted for it. And they're nothing but hatred towards women, hatred towards children. How did the Democratic Party ever get to this point of this evil perversion? How did that happen? And their fake claim that they care about trans people, people that believe that, for whatever reason, believe that they're the opposite sex. You and I go back to that Berkeley professor because the argument doesn't make any sense. When Josh Hawley was asking, this goes back a few years ago, legitimate questions. I want to ask you questions about your views on trans people. And she said, well, what you're asking right there is transphobic. He goes, what do you mean? I'm asking questions.
Right.
And she said, well, do you believe that men can get pregnant? He goes, no, they can't. See, you're transphobic. And by you saying that, you know, basically you're committing violence by saying that because trans people have the highest rate, this was her argument, have the highest rate of attempted suicide and suicide, and therefore they'll get upset at what you said and commit suicide.
Yeah.
Well, what the hell are you talking? Then what you're saying is there is a massive mental health problem here, and you're saying the solution is to let young kids chop off their genitals or take irreversible hormonal treatment. What the hell is wrong with you people? What type of evil perversion are you involved in that you're trying to package as some type of virtue signaling that you care? It's the most bizarre thing that you could possibly ever come up with, and they're still trying to sell it.
And they're doing it all the time. And they won't stop doing it.
No.
This is one of the hills they want to die on.
And then the response is that if you object to it, then you're obsessed with genitals.
Yeah.
Excuse me. I would never be talking about this topic if you hadn't brought your insanity to the political table and the arena of ideas.
Yeah. I mean, it's all out a battle, a legal battle. Nancy renewed it just the other day.
Yeah.
And they call it gender-affirming care.
Oh, I'm sorry. It was Pelosi, not Hochul. You're right.
Right.
Pelosi.
Yeah.
It was Pelosi.
Yeah.
Let me correct that. Hochul, it was Pelosi.
Same person. Effectively.
All right, again. All right, not the same person. Hochul is just Pelosi's daughter.
Exactly. It's Pelosi 2.0.
Exactly.
But that's where they are. That's where they are as a party.
Yeah.
That's what Nancy wants her legacy to be.
Just amazing.
Yeah.
866-90 Red Eye.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
We are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Coming up following the top of the hour, New Jersey and their electricity prices. Really interesting article over the weekend on that one. Trump and supposed to have a summit with Putin coming up, this Friday, I believe it is?
Yeah.
It's the 15th?
Yeah.
So we will get to that. Young adults may be losing their ability to lead a good life. What does that mean? And the debt continues to go up.
Yep.
The debt for this year now, as we now, the fiscal year will be over October 1st. Mm-hmm. The debt now roughly $110 billion greater now than it was last year.
Yep.
We're talking about the entire fiscal year to this point from where it was last year at this point. So we'll get to that and more coming up. 866-90 Red Eye.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Thanks so much for being here this morning.
Thank you.
From Fox Business, the U.S. budget deficit has widened by $109 billion from a year ago, even including all the tariff revenue. Federal deficit reaches $1.6 trillion in the first 10 months, despite a 112% jump in customs duties. You know, what was it last month? Was it last month? Or was it May they were talking about, or June, when there was a surplus?
I think it was June.
Okay, the surplus, and the administration was out there saying, wow, the deficit's gone, and we went, stop it. It's not gone.
No.
You have a month where you've got a ton of people that pay their quarterly taxes, and it's a month where normally you will have a massive, you can have a surplus. I think, what was it, like $69 billion or something? But the month before, it was over $300 billion negative.
Yeah. Right.
And so you don't sit there and count. We don't do economic figures. Every administration does, including this administration. They'll take the high points of a particular month and cherry pick the numbers and say, this shows that everything is going great.
Yeah.
And so one of the arguments with tariffs are, and you hear it all the time, we can get rid of the income tax. There's going to be Doge checks. There's going to be, sorry.
That's so 3 months ago.
Doge checks. There's going to be, tariff checks, but the majority are going to go to reduce the deficit. And again, we'll see what happens long term. But economics. when you and Scott Bessent, as we pointed out, last week, after Trump again is trying to imply that the tariff money is flowing in from the United States, Bessent was asked specifically who pays the tariffs, and he said the importer, which is American companies, which means it's passed on to the American consumer and American companies. And we've always said you may want tariffs, and they're justifiable for any country that's involved in unfair trading practices, or, for example, what we're seeing going on to be used as a negotiating point against Russia, saying, okay, we're going to if other countries buy oil from you, we're going to put huge tariffs on them, and we're going to punish them in sanctions and whatever you do. All that can be justifiable at particular times. Now, is the president, do I believe that the Supreme Court will agree with the president? I don't believe the appeals court would. I would be very surprised if the Supreme Court would also, with his emergency power. The fact is, as we've said, though, if Congress doesn't say anything, the president's power is whatever the president's power wants to be until the courts intervene. Whether you're a Democrat or Republican, that will happen. But as we've always said, when you increase the cost of doing business, no matter how you do it, no matter whether it's sales tax, no matter whether it's income tax, whether it's property tax, whether it's tariffs, whatever. If you make the cost of doing business, if it becomes harder to do so, you have less economic growth than if you hadn't done it. Now, there may be purposes for the future, but you still have economic problems. And if you don't have the economic growth, remember, the economic growth for this year, first half of this year, is 1.2%. I guarantee the budget and this would have been the Democrats figured out the budget, whatever deficit they had was probably based on unreasonable GDP growth for this year. Or GDP growth that is not happening at the moment. And so if you stifle growth, you get less tax revenue. So you can promote one end while the other end you're ignoring, but in the end, it's what do we have for the fiscal year, not a month. As I said, we don't debate that way, and the be-all, end-all is not what an economic number is for a particular month or a quarter. We look for trends, which would be over a longer period of time. And yes, you can make the case that, but this is the Biden budget that all Republicans and the president agreed with.
Yes.
In order to pass it to get to this particular point. And if you weren't for the Democrat budget till October 1st, you were considered a rhino.
Somehow.
We're the places where we go now.
Look, we don't bring the words or redefine the words, or we're telling you what happened, how it went down,
and we keep telling people, look, economics is not an opinion. It's not. Should we spend $10 billion on the poor or $12 billion on the poor? That's a totally exaggerated number. Should we spend $2 trillion on the poor?
I was going to say what? Billion.
That would be an opinion based on I believe the government can do it more efficiently. No, I don't believe it. Economics is the observance of reality, and economics is very simple. It's not complicated. Had a great conversation with an Uber driver over the weekend on that one. And it was really good, just on economics in general, because he said, well, what is economics? And I said, it's not complicated. It's how people respond to incentive. That's it. I can't change that. You can't change that.
Nope.
Trump can't change that.
No.
Biden can't change that. Nobody can change how people respond to incentive. People act in their own best self-interest. That's just the reality of economics. It's the reality of it's why capitalism works. Capitalism works because when you do a transaction with someone, the majority of us buy something. You trade your dollar for a good or service, and most of us are pleased with it. Otherwise, we wouldn't continue doing it.
Right.
And that's how you get, by both of you doing things in your own best self-interest. That's why people cooperate. Oh, it's in my self-interest. Oh, it's in your self-interest. Oh, you're giving me money, I'm giving you this. Yeah. But you can look at countries that are involved in unfair trading practices and say, yeah, let's, we need to do something here, and there's going to be pain by the American public.
Mm-hmm.
What we want is full transparency and honesty, and from this administration, we have not gotten it. And that's my concern.
Yeah.
And my concern also is the constitutional issues that come into being. But, yeah, so the budget is greater for this fiscal year than it will be for last year. And the administration may say it's all Biden, and they would have a point, except the president and all the 99% of the Republicans voted to ensure that the Biden budget stayed in place. And if you did not vote for it, you were considered anti-MAGA and a rhino.
Yeah, right.
So,
yep. Yeah, it's quite disheartening. I think you and I were talking about this in the pre-show meeting, and it's like, yep, and nobody cares. And it's virtually nobody, again, our audience notwithstanding. But I have to wonder how much of our audience anymore. Where was the screaming? Well, it seemed to come from Chip Roy's district until it didn't. And there was this euphoria around Doge. It's like, oh my gosh, we're having a conversation about the national debt, about government spending. Wow. This may turn into something. Oh, no, it's not. And it's over. It will not happen in my lifetime. I'm right on that. I will always be right on that because, at some point I'll be dead. If I keep running over bees' nests with my lawnmower, it may be sooner than later. But I'm right on that, and there's political talk about it. Nobody's doing anything. You can talk about bombing Iran, or you can bomb Iran. See, that's the difference. That's how I know. You talk about something, and you can either do it or not. I've seen you do it, but not on this.
Well, I guess you could look at it the same as Social Security.
Yeah.
Something's going to have to be done, and they're not going to do it until they have to.
Right. No, that's exactly going to be. It's going to be. You won't need a Democrat to pull the fire alarm. It's just someone's going to pull it.
Yeah.
Because there will actually be a fire. Okay. The proverbial fire at Social Security Administration. Yeah, we're out of money.
And everybody wants to have the thing. There's not going to be any change to Social Security at all. Of course there's going to be. Now, the change could be, as we know, slowly increasing the age, which is going on right now.
Yeah.
It's going on right. You slowly increase the age.
Right.
You increase the amount that people have to pay.
Yeah, you lift the cap FICA on that.
Because what they're saying is, well, there's not going to be any change to Social Security and how we pay out the benefits. Well, there's going to be a change elsewhere. And if you're not going to range the FICA tax and you take it out of the general fund,
right,
no matter what you do in order to pay the current rate and keep up with inflation and the number of baby boomers that are going to be, retiring or hitting it. For example, me this year, I start collecting Social Security. Now I waited till I was, I don't get it till I turn 70.
Right.
But still, tens of thousands are collecting every single day.
Oh, yeah.
You're going to have to increase the revenue source. So there will be a change.
Yeah.
It may not be in the benefits, but it's going to continue what Rand Paul says is the Ponzi scheme.
Yeah.
And so, will the FICA tax go up? way more than it was ever intended to be?
I think the FICA tax will go up. It will probably start on the employer side because, big bad business.
We thought about that already. Yeah, you're going to get it. You
might even, on the individual rate, not just lift the cap or do away with the cap altogether in terms of FICA contributions for the year, but also over a certain level, lift the rate.
Yeah, I think you're going to see, I wouldn't be surprised. Let's see how close we are when they finally do it. We may not be on the air anymore by the time they try to fix it, though. Who knows?
Well, as long as they fix it, if I'm not working any longer, see, I'll need them to fix it.
Well, what I see is slowly raising the age, lifting the cap, lifting the cap, and even increasing the cap over a certain amount.
Yeah, that's what I think.
And I agree with you because I think we discussed this already. Raise the FICA level for corporate, but not personal.
The employer will pay more.
Right.
Instead of an equal portion, the employer will start to pay more.
It doesn't fix the problem.
Well, no, because it has an impact, because that means there is a greater burden on employers to hire employees. And so what happens, well, eventually, again, that becomes a problem with, with jobs and unemployment. So, look, there's no way that it's not going to hit, and it's going to happen soon. And, I look at this, the whole thing on the debt. And I think what's interesting here is that it seems like they're just paring everything now down to the deficit, right? Well, let's, get control of the deficit when they know full well they're actually not going to get on top of the deficit. But they move away from the debate about the, 33 plus trillion in debt and the national debt and just focus on the deficit. I know the two are related, but if you just don't look at the bigger one, it doesn't look like such a monster. It's always going to be a monster, and it's at the door.
866-90-RED-EYE.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90-RED-EYE on Red Eye Radio.
We are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. By the way, it's coming out that what the president's going to announce is that there's going to be a National Guard troop surge into D.C. to help local law enforcement.
Yeah,
and youth violence. I mean, the president's supposed to announce something tomorrow. It seems as if the mayor, it's not going to be where the United States is going to take over the operation of D.C. That's not happening.
No.
That would be the huge controversy was. But I think it's another thing where it's something the Republicans and Trump can win on, which is law and order. We want to bring law and order to D.C.
Yeah.
And the mayor's saying, look, we want all the help that we can possibly get because we want the help to reduce crime.
Right.
So it is another win for Trump. So we'll get to that. It would be interesting to see what he specifically comes out with. Also coming up here, the summit, which really isn't a summit. The summit will be, and J.D. Vance said yesterday, they're trying to hold a trilateral meeting. They have to have all three of them there discussing it.
Yeah.
Any deal is going to have to be all three. It can't be Trump and Putin coming to a deal without Ukraine at the table.
Right.
And just say, you go along with this. I don't think Trump would do that based on what he has done so far. I think that he believes that Putin does not want peace, and he's going to go to any. I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt on this because he's earned it.
Yeah,
Trump's earned the benefit of the doubt with everything that he's done with Israel, what he did, what he has done with Iran, the peace deals that he has made while he's been in office already, the Abraham Accords in his first term. So.
Yeah, I think, this is probably the final step, and I don't know where it goes from here if this doesn't work. But it is good that it happened in this order after everything that's gone down in the Middle East. Sorry, Vlad, you're not getting Eastern Ukraine. It doesn't work. That's not that's not a part of a quid pro quo that the other side's ever going to agree to.
What I saw yesterday, which was interesting because it said Trump hints at a deal that might swap territories, and I'm like, well, what's Ukraine getting?
Yeah, exactly.
First, right. Okay, that'd be interesting. What do you? And there was, again, it was a more of a general comment on it, which, again, he will do when you first start negotiating. Remember, just a couple of days before he bombed Iran, look, we want to give them a chance. We want to see what they have, and it's like,
no, I'm kind of with you on that. Over the weekend, I was thinking, all right, this sounds like, and I think if you're Vladimir Putin, that has to be going through your brain too. You can't predict this particular president of the United States. You just can't. And I think that sets up a slight advantage for Trump going in. We'll see if it actually works because, again, we're dealing with Vladimir Putin. So we'll see. I don't have my hopes up on a deal, but we'll see.
Oh, no, neither do I.
Yeah.
But in order to have a deal of credibility to even a significant portion of Republicans in Congress, it's going to have to be all three of them.
Yep.
At the table.
Yeah.
Now, we're not going to know what really is going on in the negotiations, but they all three sit down together.
Yep.
Then the negotiations proceed after that.
Yep.
One 866-90 Red Eye. Call with your reaction. Red Eye Radio.
We are Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. I'm just chuckling because I was just going through social media, and you and I were just talking about the fact that the U.S. budget deficit has widened now by $100 and almost $10 billion from last year, which means it continues to grow and grow and grow.
Yeah.
And with, there's been talk about, the president's talked about it's never going to happen that tariffs should fund the federal government. By the way, I wish, because everybody brings up in the 1800s, in the early part of the last century, we were able to fully fund the government with tariffs. I will say this. I am completely for that. I know you may be shocked. I'm completely for that if the federal government has the same responsibilities and obligation that they did back then.
Oh, yes. If we could pare down the role of the federal government to back then, tariff everybody.
Then tariff everybody. That's the problem. That's why tariffs can't do it. You would, as we did with the calculation, day one when they brought it up, we said, stop it, don't do it. It's not going to, you'd have to have tariffs permanently at 200%.
Yeah. No.
And that would be just now. You'd have to go up.
Yeah.
And then with the economic slowdown, you'd have to increase it to 300 and 400.
Exactly.
But it was just, it set off, that has set off a ton of different tax discussions. And Scott Walker, former governor of Wisconsin, said if we had a flat tax in America, we would not need the IRS. Abolish the IRS. And then they got to, then people started responding, abolish the income tax, repeal the 16th Amendment, Income should not be taxed. I'd rather see a fair tax, though, over a flat tax. Well, what would the rate be? And then one of the best parts, what about business income?
Yeah.
Business income is not that simple. And the funny thing is, with Scott Walker saying that, the Republican Party has made taxes even more complicated.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because when you put out there that the income tax, okay, this deduction, that deduction, this deduction, this benefit, this whatever,
right.
What you do is you make the tax system more complicated. The flat tax, you're still going to need you're still going to need an IRS.
Yeah. Right.
How do you do business stuff? Business, sorry, no deductions for businesses. That's not going to happen. It's not going to happen under Democrats. It's not going to happen under Republicans.
Nope.
We've seen it.
Right. Never.
And so they go down. Income should not be taxed. What would the rate be? Business income isn't that simple. If we had a smaller government, without all the waste, and we wouldn't need an income tax. Yeah, you will. Well, you need a tax, a small flat tax. We need to pay for the military and some infrastructure, nothing more. Well. Tariffs should fund the federal government. Taxation is theft. Fair tax, it's the best option. Fair tax. A flat wealth tax. A flat wealth tax of 15%.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Could you imagine that?
Yeah.
A 15% of flat wealth tax. Does that mean on everybody? Could you imagine people not earning anything? Could you?
Well, on their existing wealth or?
Well, yes.
Yeah, that's okay.
Wealth,
So
yeah.
just to be clear, because you asked the question, would it be on everybody?
It's a flat tax means he didn't say flat or a wealth tax on the rich.
On the rich.
But flat tax in general.
Well,
flat wealth tax.
Right. Well, and what they'll tell you is poor people don't have any wealth. But they do, don't they?
Do. Yes.
And let's just say, okay, let's say they extrapolate it and they clarify it's only on the rich. We've heard this before. You know what would have to happen is you would have to go in and audit. Every person would have to list all of their assets.
Yes.
Every time.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter because we need to know that Joe Smith's uncle didn't die and leave him whatever, a ton of land.
Right.
In the last year.
We don't know if you bought a home.
And we have no idea if, you went in and you got the Bitcoins and all of a sudden the Bitcoins went through the roof. And now, see, this is why every one of your assets you would have to list. So now the IRS knows what you do for a living. And then we would go beyond that and they would have to, you would have to list every single asset you own.
Right.
Anything worth anything. Every time.
And again, your house, well, okay, yeah, my house is appraised. My house is appraised at I'm throwing out $300,000, but I've only paid $100,000 in principal. Oh, well, that's your wealth.
Yeah.
Your wealth is how much you have left on principal? Okay, how much is the house actually worth? Well, then this portion, for a wealth tax is what you owe. You would owe on your car. You know, on anything, any asset that you had. That would be interesting to see how Congress would do that. But we all know it's not happening in our lifetime because one of the best responses number one, hey, Scott, think big. No taxes. Then another one, no taxes. There should be absolutely no taxes of any form. And then my favorite, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, that has to be a Red Eye Radio listener. That might have been me. I don't know. I was laid up for a full day because a bee stung me. I was medicated on ibuprofen and the allergy drugs. It is blah, 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 blah. It's exactly what I said earlier. There's a lot of talk. There's zero action. None. And there won't be in our lifetime. Can we all just give it up?
Yeah.
Just stop. Everybody, just stop it. Just stop. Quit it.
The only thing that's going to happen, because what did was it? Somebody was posting the other day. Well, what we need to do is this, and I'm like, well, all you're doing is adding taxes. You're saying, well, we're going to make this tax a little smaller, but add a new tax. And you and I have always been like, don't add a new tax. That was the problem we had. Remember the 999 plan?
Oh yeah. Herman Cain's
999 plan.
Yeah.
And boy,
it caught fire for a minute.
Oh, it did. And then, well, remember the blowback we got from our own listeners when we said, absolutely not. What are you, nuts?
Right.
No, nine. And they're like, what are you talking about? Herman Cain came up with a great idea. 999 plan. And what was it? It was a 9% income tax, right?
Yep.
9% sales tax.
Right.
And what was the other 9%?
I don't know. We got to Google 999 plan. Yeah. And God rest his soul, we liked Herman Cain in many ways. We weren't fans of this plan.
I just very quickly here. Okay.
9% tax on pizza, 9% tax on beer.
Oh, okay. Okay. 9% personal income tax, 9% federal sales tax, 9% corporate tax. That's what it was.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And we said absolutely not. And people were furious at us until they heard our explanation. They went, oh, okay, yeah, you guys do have a point.
Yeah.
And remember, he had to back off. He had to back off on it because that criticism kept rising.
Well, we only said, look, you have to do away with the current form of taxing income before you can do, and one has to trigger the other. The implementation of the new plan has to trigger abolishing the old plan altogether. You can't have both abilities, or the federal government can't have both of those abilities in terms of income tax.
Right. The last thing you want to do, we have an income tax. We don't have a federal sales tax. If you have a federal sales tax, you have to get rid of the income tax. Because if you don't do it, then all you've done, well, we've lowered the income tax for you, but now you've got a 9% federal sales tax, and now Congress has two different taxes that they can raise. Well, we'll raise one a little bit this year where they don't feel it, the other next year. You never, ever increase the pass or the avenue for the federal government, especially in where we are right now and where we have gone on taxes and debt and the interest on the debt and everything else. The last thing you want to do is give government the ability to go from one path to tax you to two different paths to tax you.
Right.
So yeah, remember that we got a lot of blowback from our listeners until we explained it.
Yeah, I forgot about this. 999 the movie. They did it was a campaign thing. Slaying the tax monster. Well, you're not necessarily slaying any monsters here. So yeah, it was a campaign thing.
Now the good thing is, I mean, in it he was going to get rid of some taxes. The payroll tax, the capital gains tax, the estate tax, whatever. But what Republican hasn't been trying to eliminate the estate tax for the longest time?
Right.
And again, you say a 9% corporate tax. That's for Trump to get it to what he did, to 21% was a miracle. You're never going to get a 9% corporate tax in this environment. Not going to happen.
No.
But our point was, don't add another tax,
right,
where they can tax the consumer, because they know the money
Yep.
is in the middle class.
Yep.
There's money from the rich, but if you really want it, you get it from the middle class.
Yep.
But there you go. So I was dying laughing because I'm going through all the different tariffs, no taxes, no taxes, no taxes. All right, 11% flat tax, 13% flat tax. No, we don't need a flat tax. We need a fair tax. And then all of a sudden I get to blah, 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 blah.
Yeah. And that's basically where we are. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, it's not going to be, there's the thing. It's not going to be anything more than a discussion. Ever. There is no serious action. As you mentioned, you brought up Social Security. Well, they won't do that. Again, right now the fire's in the kitchen and we're in the bedroom. Everything's fine. We'll get out the garden hose when it rounds the corner into the hallway. Oh, better do something now. No, you should have done something about it years ago. And I'm with Rand Paul. It is a Ponzi scheme. This pyramid scheme's been going on for far too long. And it was bound to hit this level. So now you've got to get into we got to tax more people. We got to tax this differently and this differently. All right. Okay. Whatever.
The only good thing about the 999 plan is it got people talking about taxes, and really there isn't a lot of discussion on it now. And the discussion on tariffs can replace the income tax is silly.
999 caught fire for a minute, and it really did.
And it was,
I mean, it was something for a minute. And, and it had to be torn down because you can't just, shake the pom-poms and go, well, I hope they'll realize they can't do this in the future. And Herman Cain, even, as you mentioned, had to back away from it and say, well, maybe we could make some changes here or there. And ultimately, of course, it wasn't going to fly. And it didn't.
866-90-RED-EYE.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-EYE.
We are Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Now, see, my tax plan, and because we all attempt to do things in our own best self-interest, I believe that everybody should pay taxes except people that are over the age of 65. No taxes at all. None.
I was going to say double the tax on Social Security, but only for the next 10 years.
Not on me, though.
Yeah, for the next 10 years. This is for me, not you.
Okay. I see. Yes,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, do you
only
pay,
for the next 10 years?
Do you pay the increase in Social Security tax?
No, I wouldn't pay that until I started collecting, which is about 10 years from now. See?
Oh, you mean double the amount they pay?
Double the amount, but only for the next 10 years.
Oh, okay.
So you'll pay out the nose for 10 years, and then I won't pay him.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here this morning.
Thank you. Thank you.
I thought this was interesting. On Friday's broadcast of HBO's Real Time, host Bill Maher stated that government tries to do too much and taxing the rich doesn't appear to actually help people who are struggling economically. While speaking with Washington Post columnist George Will, Bill Maher said, "I keep hearing tax the rich. I understand that, but they do. And the rich pay a lot. I know because I'm rich and I pay a lot, over half. Will responded, you're among the 1% who pays 40% in this country, the top 1%, 40% of income tax. Bill Maher then stated, and I wouldn't mind doing it, except it doesn't seem to solve the problems.
Well, if he's living in California, he's paying over, state and federal combined, he's paying over half, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, certainly, yeah.
Yeah.
I just want to know where the money goes, because I keep reading things like half the country cannot survive if they have a $400 disaster in their life. Like they don't have $400 in the bank if the car breaks or something, and the other half are buying Taylor Swift and Beyonce tickets for $1,800. I pay every year more than half. The government takes more than half. Where does all of it go? If it's not helping in fixing the people who are one paycheck away from disaster, where is the money going? Will responded he doubts the legitimacy of the statistic about how many people can't survive a small financial shock. Later, Bill Maher said to Will that Will is someone who spent his whole life talking about how government tries to do too much, which it does. Bill, pay more.
Yeah. Well, look, we've done the math I don't know how many times over the years. You're not going to you can't tax your way to a fiscally responsible government. In fact, it shows that, and we went after the George W. Bush administration because when you lower taxes and there's a greater revenue stream, then there becomes all of a sudden this urge politically to spend more. Mm-hmm. And you start outspending. It's like you get a raise, but then you outspend that raise. Yeah, you got a slight raise, but you went and bought a luxury car. I remember criticizing the George W. Bush administration, and I thought Republicans, at some point, you and I thought, this is back at the old building, we were going to go downstairs at the end of the show, and we're going to have a whole line of Republicans, a group of angry Republicans based on the response we were getting, because they didn't like the fact that we were trying to hold them responsible, the Bush administration at the time.
Accountable.
And responsible. And you think, look, if you're signing it, it's just like when he signed, what was it? What he signed? It was campaign finance.
Oh, yeah.
Into law.
Yep.
I know parts of this are unconstitutional.
But I'll let the courts deal
But I'll let the courts decide. It took 5 years for the courts to get to that.
Yep. And we were furious. We were livid.
Gosh. Use the veto pen, man.
Yep.
And so...
Or, remember, what did he say about his economic theories?
Oh, in 2008. That... at some point, basically, you have to abandon
your principles.
No, that's when you adhere to them.
And what the hell are you talking about? It's
what he didn't want to see is what should have happened, and it was already underway. The Democrats had already, put into motion all the ingredients for this when the housing thing crashed. You take Fannie and Freddie out of that equation, it would have never happened. First of all. But when it did happen, then you shouldn't be muddying the waters by putting the money in the tills of all the banks. Because it turned out a few of them were on the brink of insolvency. Now you made it look like they were all on the brink of insolvency and nobody knew where to go. Everybody froze. That's when you adhere to your principles, and we would have had a higher unemployment rate for a shorter period of time, but you hit the bottom so you can come back up. At least you know where the bottom is. That's when you adhere to your principles. And, but nobody wants to hear that anymore because, doing things is hard.
I thought when I burst out laughing when George Will asked him about Mamdani, and he was like, well, no, you need to do this every once in a while. You need to elect a socialist so we know what doesn't work.
No, I like that.
And we're just in that. Well, I mean, you think about it now. This is the same. We're going through the same thing that we went through in the late 20s, then through the 1930s when it comes to tariffs and people's belief that tariffs can pay all the income tax.
Yeah, yeah.
We're going back to economic theories that have already been done in practice that don't work.
Yep.
And it doesn't matter the new generation, and so that's part of me going, go ahead. They want to do it, fine.
All right.
It's all right. It's
fine.
You can look through history and see what works economically and what doesn't. And this is not about tariffs if you do it for other countries that do unfair trading practices, but those that believe that we can run the federal government on tariffs.
Right.
And the amount that you would need to do in order to do that.
Right.
And when we had talked about this with the Scott Walker thing on flat tax and everything else and the blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
It's almost as if we live in the delusional world. No taxes and make the government smaller and nobody should pay any taxes at all.
Right. Yeah.
Fine. I have an opinion that isn't in the realm of possibility. Therefore, I am more moral than you, and I can virtue signal that I have the solution, which is impossible.
Sure.
We can't even cut the budget 1% a year. We can't even say, let's only raise the budget to the increase of inflation.
Right.
We can't do any of these things, and it's like, well, we've got to cut here, we've got to cut there. We have set up a pathology of dependency in the federal government with so many of the programs that they run. And now Bill Maher, it's not doing any good. You're voting for you voted for an idiot like Kamala Harris. What the hell are you talking about?
Right. He's still hanging on to identity politics.
Yeah. You're hanging on to identity politics, the radical, and he's still trying to hang on to the last thing. Well, I mean, there's some legitimacy to the trans issue, but he won't tell you what it is.
Right.
He's all over the place.
Right. No, he wants to, he's trying to build that independent cred. I'm not left or right, I'm independent. No, you're not.
Well, the only thing is, maybe he is on fiscal things where in his own interest matters now.
Well, again,
he lives in California.
He's rich.
I'm paying millions of dollars in taxes.
Yeah.
And nothing's happening beneficial out of it.
Right.
Well, when he talked about that, though, did you see? We talked about it last week, too, and there's another article on it today. I think National Review had. No, it was Jonathan Turley. Had the article that we read on the universal basic income. It's not working.
Yeah.
Why? You give people free money. Then they can go and they have that extra buffer. They quit their jobs. You give them extra money. They quit. They work less.
Right.
That's what happens.
Gee.
If you give people free money.
Yeah.
We're going to give them free money. We expect that they're all going to be responsible with it. Well, we find out the opposite actually happens. You give them free money, and they say, I've got free money. I'm going to stop working over here.
It's the same odd characteristics, different principles, but the same line of idiots that do that and also then throw in Keynesian economics every once in a while. Oh, they'll just spend it out in the marketplace. They'll just spend it in the economy. See, it all goes, for every dollar, you get $1.50 in return. No, doesn't work that way at all. And there has, this is the thing. Ultimately, what we're looking at is the scenario that I've put out there for a while. The kitchen's on fire, but yeah, you're back in the bedroom. Everything's fine. Obama, he said it years ago. The debt's not a problem. And still today, neither of the major parties act on it. Nothing is being done about it. Nothing. There's no serious fight to tackle the national debt. None. And you can't get in the way. Because then, politically, you're a pariah. Chip Roy was the only one screaming about it, but he voted for it twice.
Yeah. The American people don't want it.
No.
The American people don't want fiscal responsibility from the federal government.
You're alone. You're on an
our
island.
audience does. I mean, that's the few remaining conservatives, but it's just not something that they're concerned about. But it does make sense from, as we always say, economics, people's self-interest.
Yeah.
Their self-interest is spend money on me now and put it on future generations.
Mm-hmm.
It's not moral what we're doing.
Right.
But it does make sense.
Yeah.
866-90-RED-EYE.
Brought to you by Hot Shot Secret.
Hi, I'm Jen Loomis, a transport safety expert at JJ Keller, and I'm here to share a tip on speed and space management. Due to safety concerns, many motor carriers have policies that limit or prohibit the use of cruise control. If your motor carrier does allow you to use cruise control, you should only use it in good driving conditions during daylight hours and on roads that have light traffic, few curves or hills, and a consistent speed limit. Never use cruise control when operating in adverse driving conditions, including wet, icy, or slippery roads, during rush hour in heavy traffic or on congested highways, at night, or when you're tired or fatigued. During all of these driving scenarios, you want to be controlling and adjusting your speed as you drive instead of having to suddenly brake if you encounter an obstacle. In the case of a slippery road surface, you want to be able to slow your vehicle by not accelerating instead of using the brakes whenever possible. This tip was brought to you by JJ Keller and Associates. Visit us at jjkeller.com.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
Red Eye Radio, he's Eric Harley and I'm Gary McNamara. And to get back to the whole, Bill Maher thing where he said, there are people out there that, can't survive a medical, can't survive a $400 emergency. Mm-hmm. And those are the people I want to help. But it seems like I'm getting taxed. Over half of my income's being taxed. And the money's not doing any good. I don't see where it's doing any good to help the people that I wish to help. And then to relate to it, what he was talking about, we talked about this last week, and it was a review on, Jonathan Turley did it, on all the different studies on the guaranteed annual income.
Yeah. Right.
Saying, doesn't work. It doesn't improve people's lives.
No.
Wall Street Journal, on the latest study that was out there, the nonprofit Open Research and several universities ran a randomized controlled trial to test the impact of a cash transfer on lower-income working-age Americans. One group received $1,000 every month for 3 years, $36,000 total, no strings attached. The others were paid $50 a month to participate as a control group, just to participate in it. Mm-hmm. Open Research showed the study showed, and this is fascinating. Hold off for the punchline here.
All right.
Open Research said the study showed that parents improved their parenting practices and made meaningful investments in their children and themselves. Well, what they found out was those who received the $1,000 payments did report better parenting behavior in the surveys, though they might have been more inclined to say this because they were receiving free money. And the researchers noted that.
Yeah.
They also spent more money on their children, on the other hand, they reported that their children experienced more, the people that got the $1,000 payments, more developmental difficulties and stress than the other group. The author suggested parents receiving cash might have simply been more attentive to their children's problem than those in the control group, but they also showed that while transfer payments reduced parents' self-reporting stress levels during the first year of the study, the effects were gone by the second year, the researchers write. The handouts also did not have a meaningful effect on most educational outcomes measured in the school administrative records, including attendance, disciplinary actions, or repeating a grade. Illinois children whose parents received the free cash had worse grades than the control group, though this negative effect was not statistically significant after researchers adjusted for the other variables, but they weren't better. They were worse, if not significantly worse. The payments also did not affect characteristics of the home environment, child food security, exposure to homelessness, or parental satisfaction didn't make a difference. Nor did they increase the probability of parents having another child, which coordinates with other studies that found cash payments don't increase fertility rates. And they say, sorry, Mr. Vice President, we talked about that. When you had the vice president talking about, they talked about the giving money so parents will have kids.
Right. Yeah.
Like parents don't have kids because of money.
No.
And we said that.
Yeah.
The researchers reported last year that the cash transfers increased healthcare utilization, including health and emergency care, but this produced no measurable effects on physical health outcomes. A study of Oregon's Medicaid expansion in 2008 came to the same conclusion. Recipients also worked less, equivalent to roughly 8 fewer days, yet open research touts that the average household income was roughly $6,100 higher for recipients than control groups, including the transfer amount and payments increased agency to work fewer hours and reduce the number of jobs held. In other words, the payments led people to work less.
Shocked. I'm just shocked.
And they say the household income was higher because of the money that they got.
Yeah.
They got for free.
Right.
So they go, the results mesh with other evidence that a guaranteed annual income is not the path to upward mobility. Why? It's free money.
Free money.
People react different to something that's free than when they earn it.
Right. In fact,
simple.
After a while, I would think it depends on how long you went, but after a while, people would learn to expect more, actually. I'm getting free money now, but man, that's not enough. I want more. Pathology of dependency.
By the way, when I start collecting my Social Security, that's not free money. That has been earned.
You've been paying in for a very, very, very long time.
Catch all 5 hours of the show live every night on the Red Eye Radio app. Available in the App Store. Red Eye Radio.
We are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. I hit my on button, and then it went off.
I don't know. I don't know what's going on.
I panicked there. Ow, I hurt my hand.
All right.
All right, you ready to go?
All right.
866-90-RED-EYE. By the way, download our Red Eye Radio app today, and you can listen when and where you choose. Let's go to Michael in Florida. We were talking about all the different tax systems out there and the fact that the deficit for this year is $110 billion now, greater than last year in the first 10 months. Michael, welcome. In Florida, you're on Red Eye Radio. Hi.
Hey, how you doing?
Good.
Good. I guess I look at it as if we get $5.92 trillion and just say we get $7 trillion in revenue, I think it is irrelevant. And I related it to lottery winners. How many lottery winners think if I hit the lottery, I'm set? But yet, within 5 to 7 years, I believe it's around 70% of them are broke without physical responsibility, and that's the federal government.
Yep.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. You can. Well, you see these football players, football or basketball players that sit there in their career. They made $80 million, and now they're living under a highway, and you're like, how?
Right. Yep.
Well, if you spend more, look at Hammer. Remember MC Hammer?
Yeah.
He was worth millions and lost everything. He said,
right.
well, I guess I just, he spent way too much. And that's a great point. It doesn't matter what the revenue is, and conservatives have been saying that for
Thanks,
years.
Michael.
It's, again, if you're not going to control your spending, there's nothing that you can do.
Well, that's, and Michael brings up an interesting principle, which has been pointed to time and time again over the years. It's a principle that applies here because of the redistributive rights conversation. That's been also going on for years. You can give some people, give them millions of dollars, and you can take everything away from certain billionaires and come back 5-10 years later. The billionaires will be billionaires again, and those that were given all of that wealth will be broke. And so you get into this, the redistributive rights thing, really at the basis of it is to break a system and have the government essentially take over all of it. You need to create the demons along the way, and they include corporations and the wealthy. And we always extrapolated it out and said, okay, let's not stop at billionaires. Let's not stop at millionaires. What about the guy down the street, owns his own plumbing business, makes a couple $100,000 a year, working 80 hours a week? My brother was telling me, we were talking about, the no tax on overtime thing, the one big beautiful bill. He goes, guys in the oil field, those guys are working tons and tons and tons of overtime. Some of those guys work more overtime than a full-time week. They're getting more than 40 hours in overtime alone, And you think about those individuals who work, their butts off. All right, they're making $200,000. Oh, but you're only making $30,000. That's not fair. Now, you only work 5 hours a night on this stupid little talk show in the middle of the night, but who cares? You only get $30,000 while your neighbor gets $200,000. That's not fair.
Is that what we're down to?
I guess.
I didn't know we were down. I didn't know our pay was that low.
It's so low, my agent quit billing me. Like, don't bother. Don't bother. You can't write a check for that low. So
agent? Why do we need an agent at $30,000?
The agent starts writing us donations. That's the problem. That's a problem. Sorry, guys. Gosh. Here you go. Here's a donation. Here's a coupon for Arby's. But it is that principle of, well, and the left always uses the word have. They have more than you do. Well, no, they earned more than you. This is what the wealth tax and the death tax thing. That's one thing, by the way, the big beautiful bill did. It made permanent the exemption on lifetime gifts or estate gifts. The estate tax, the exemption is now $15 million or $30 million for couples. It was much lower than that before, so it made that permanent. Well, permanent until the Democrats get in and do something about it, and they go back and change it. But the idea that we should take from those who have and then give it to those who don't has never worked. And, Bill Maher pointing this out, that it's not going to go to its intended source. Well, it never really was intended. It's intended what? Well, you think about Charlie Gibson, the moderator on the stage, 2008 presidential campaign, Barack Obama, then candidate. Barack Obama was asked, well, what about, the capital gains tax? When you lower the capital gains tax, it actually can increase the amount of revenue to the government. He was asked that twice. And finally, Obama said, well, no, Charlie, we're going to do it out of a sense of fairness. Oh, a sense of fairness. Well, what is that? What does that mean? That's that emotion. We just want to satisfy an emotion. Nobody's getting rich off the government dole. Oh, look, the basic monthly income, we can do a little less work. Doesn't do anything for our kids in school. Doesn't do anything actually for us in our lives, except we have a little more free time.
Bill Maher makes a point, though, because I just started thinking about, in human nature, he's like, I'm paying all this money, and I don't see any result on it. And we talked about that podcaster that, said the cruel and mean, Republicans and conservatives and all that. And, I always go back to my father. And my father always said, was always against a big federal government because, as he said, the people are numbers to them. They're not people. He said, because I believe taxes are way too high. I don't want the federal government using as much tax money and being involved in so many things because they're just not good at doing a ton of different things. And the other thing, when you send tax money, as Bill Maher said, I don't see it working. And I know that I sponsor, and I've talked about it before, this great, it's more of a not homeless shelter, but life shelter. They've got the place if you need food, whatever, you can get food bank, everything else. They've got that there. But if you want to stay there, you've got to improve your life. And there is no joy. Think about this. It's the difference between Bill Maher furious about where his tax money going and this particular institution that I work with, where I go once a year and I actually meet the people that are being helped. Mm-hmm. You sit there and you look at it, the money that you give, you can see the results, and you can talk to the people. You can talk to the counselors. You can talk. They want you. They want, as somebody, who donates to them, they want you to know what they're doing. There's full transparency. They want you to talk to the counselors. They want you to talk to the actual clients, that are going through it, and the clients that have succeeded, that go everywhere from homelessness, drug abuse, single mothers, that have been abused. These people completely lost, like so many are. Lost, homeless, don't know where to go. And there's a place that said, here's the carrot, follow it, and you can succeed. And you watch those people who do it. After you meet them, your first instinct, you get such incredible joy out of it. You say, the money that I'm spending here, this not only is worth it, not only did it bring them incredible joy that they're becoming self-sufficient in their life and becoming productive and caring human beings who appreciate the help that they're getting, but you're like, my God, my dollars are working here. This is fantastic. You walk away as thrilled as you can be. That's the difference between the situation that I deal, that I just personally can attest to, and anybody else can who donates or volunteers or helps in any type of local organization where you can see it every day. Mm-hmm. And Bill Maher, who's going, I'm spending millions. I have no idea where the hell it's going. The people that I really want to help aren't being helped. I can look at it and go, in this little section here, maybe only a little section, but that's how you start out. You can't save the world. You can do what you can for that portion of the earth where you're around in your geographical area. But you see these people that are actually, their lives are being saved, and they've made the decision to do it. And there's an organization out there, privately funded, that people love working with them because they see the results. It's joy all around.
Yeah, it's great how charity works. It's great how the money goes, and this is why I think so many philanthropists over the years, in later years especially, have insisted on being members of the board of the organization, because they want to make sure that the organization that they're giving money to is spending the money in a responsible way. It's going to the intended consequence. And so, you had your concern with certain charities over the years about spending too much here or too little there or whatever it was. But there is a more direct approach. Well, the federal government, if you're talking about the redistribution of income, of wealth, then it takes it into a system. It eats most of that system, much of that money, and administrative costs and distribution costs. And because the need is the so-called needs are vast, and I say so-called needs because we've created needs where they don't exist. There are things that we shouldn't be giving money to people for. There are standards we should have when we give money to people. It's okay to say, you can't spend that money on this. And you can't do this if you're able-bodied. You can't get any of it if you're able-bodied. We expect you to do something. And once going back to that Daniel Patrick Moynihan phrase that he coined, the pathology of dependency, by the way, a Democrat, and you start that behavior, like we said with the basic monthly income. Okay, people aren't going to work more. In fact, they're going to work less. They don't have an incentive. They have less of an incentive. When you and we talk about in our generation, on the line, if you were told, man, we got overtime coming up, that was good news.
I know, yeah.
Yes. Especially if you would get overtime like in November. It's like overtime in November? Are you kidding me?
Well, it's the culture I grew up in. There was never a complaining that we need to file a union complaint because of too much overtime, and that there was, they were pressuring you to work overtime. Yeah. Nobody ever had to pressure us to work overtime.
Oh, it was.
Ever.
It was. I was already spending in my mind. I was like, oh man, I can use that money. That's my incentive.
I mean, there were some people
you're telling me I'm going to work harder and get paid more.
There might have been a few people that didn't want to do it. I'll never forget it. Well, because of the tax issue, it's not worth. And no, by the way, that was the biggest bogus argument.
Yeah,
it's always worth it.
Exactly,
it's always worth it.
The incentive was more work.
Yeah,
I would work and earn that money, not that it's given to me.
866-90 Red Eye.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
We are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Download our Red Eye Radio app today, and you can listen when and where you choose. Because our show ends in an hour, and after our show ends, it becomes our podcast.
True
and so
story.
If you can't catch all the parts of the show that you wish to catch, you can catch it all on our podcast. And if for some reason you cannot listen to one of our great radio stations overnight, which is the preferred way, we do stream all 5 hours live on our Red Eye Radio app.
Mm-hmm.
So I just went to my dealership.
Yeah.
49 days, 20 hours, and whatever seconds until the EV mandate, the EV credit is gone. Everyone was on that the last couple of days.
Yeah.
We will get to that. Governor Abbott from Texas speaks, and Bernie Sanders asked whether Hamas has some culpability in Gaza. He says no.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.